I would tell you that probably my weakest skill in school was writing. All right. So if I didn't have thinking about having confidence, how did you then decide, okay, I didn't go to school for literature, for English, for creative writing, but I'm going to start this writing business, this author business. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I really fell into it. What happened is when I dropped out, so after I read the 4 Hour Work Week, I got retargeted with a Facebook ad, and it was Tim Ferriss's face. And he was a keynote speaker at this event called Mastermind Talks. A guy named Jason Gaynard was putting it on. And I go to the page, and it basically says that I can't remember, I think the event was $5,000 or $10,000. I did not have anywhere. I was like in debt from college. Luckily, not hundreds of thousands, but I was in some debt. So I reach out to him and I'm like, hey, I'm an aspiring entrepreneur, just dropped out, and I'd love to come to your event, but I don't have the money. So can I help you with things for free in exchange for coming to the event? And it just was like the stars aligned. And we talked on Skype the next day. And then I basically helped him out in various ways. And then he flew me out to Toronto, and I got to go to the event, and I end up meeting Tim Ferriss, which at that point in my life, and I guess you could say I still am because he changed my life, but like, I was a complete fanboy, that's like celebrity status for me. And, but here's where it clicked. What happened is I was at that event, there was 15 core speakers, and I noticed that almost all of them were authors or best-selling authors. And then I just realized that, like, if you want to get paid to speak, and I love speaking and podcasting and talking with people, having a best-selling book, you don't need it, but it helps a lot, especially when you're a 20-year-old dropout with no expertise. Like, it was kind of like a hack to kind of like build my brand quicker than waiting decades,
Yeah.
So that's what it was. But just like you, man, it's funny because I run a publishing company. I don't think I'm that good at writing. I think I'm really good at marketing, but writing is not my forte. So I wrote a little 70-page book called Conference Crushing. And I had a very good editor. I think she took it from a 2 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10. Like, it was basically her, honestly. Like, I gave her an outline and she made it sound good. And it ended up hitting bestseller on Amazon, sold a few thousand copies in the first few weeks. And then what happened is people started reaching out, asking me how I wrote it, published, and marketed it. And then that's when the business started. Like, I got maybe a few dozen clients within a few weeks after launching it.
Wow. So that was 10 years ago?
Yeah, it was so I'm 29 now. 9, 10 years ago.
Nice. So what makes, I guess I should say, full disclosure is that, I'm gonna write a book using some of your people, and what makes your company? What did you figure out that made your company different? So, like, the podcast is breakaway. So, you're in school, you break away there. Now you're saying, okay, all these other people are writing books, so I'm going to write a book, and then I get somebody to help me with the book and make sure it sounds like I know what I'm talking about, even though I can articulate it verbally, but like how to put it in, like the last person somebody wants to, you don't want to read a book of the knowledge that I have with me writing it, right? Somebody listening to me and then making it, into something coherent that somebody would enjoy reading. I think there's an art there, but you go from, just saying, hey, other people have books, I want to be a speaker, I want to do this. And then you learn this process, right? And fairly quickly, then, how did you say, okay, well, how do I get text messages, I don't even know how they get my name, of ghostwriting this and hey, everybody wants to be a bestseller, author, and I get a lot of books that are crap, honestly. And there's books on our core subject, infinite banking, and I wouldn't say that's our only, because I think it's core infinite banking and financial freedom. But that seems like everybody and their mom has written a book on financial freedom. And everybody that has written a book on infinite banking, there's so many of them, they don't say anything. they just talk about the concept, how great it is, but they're too afraid of actually giving examples or what they've done because they haven't done anything. Right.
Mhm.
And that's okay. I understand that if I write in a book and I'm 20, then I can't go off of my decades of
Yeah.
experience. But I kind of did it the other way, like you were talking. I've never really wanted to write a book, and I have people that are hounding me to write a book, and so I'm like, okay, I'll write a book, but now how am I going to get all of this information into a couple hundred pages or whatever the book's going to be? But back to the original question, how did you figure out where your space was in that industry and then kind of break away?
Yeah, so it's cool because it all connects really. So what happened is when I did my first book, what I realized is that publishers don't do marketing for their authors. It's just, you know, they publish books, but they don't market them. So it kind of clicked for me early on that if I could master the marketing side, then we would break away, if you will, or be very different, because we would handle the entire process and not just kind of like leave the author hanging at the end of the book publishing. So that's what I did. Like I mastered first the bestseller list. So, you know, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, there's 5 of them, Amazon, USA Today, Barnes and Noble, mastered all those. And then also mastered like, what do you do after you hit bestseller, right? Because there's a bestseller list. They all work a little different, but ultimately either every day, multiple times a day, or weekly for like the main ones like NYT and Wall Street. So it's not just like you hit a bestseller list and then you retire. And some people still believe that, like you just hit it and then it's over. Like you
Right.
have to really leverage it and use it in branding for media appearances and things like that. Public speaking, a lot of different ways, but you have to use it basically.